In a moment, we are going to hear from Reverend Debbie Wilson-Safa, and she is the vocational deacon as well as community meal and outreach coordinator at St. John the Evangelist Anglican Church here in Leamington. Reverend Debbie is also the secretary of the Leamington Ministerial. We're invited to hear Reverend Debbie witness about St. John's community meal program, which is one of the ministries that serves our most vulnerable. Okay. What's that?
Got it. I can do it. You might have to, Sarah.
It doesn't appear on this screen.
Oh, sorry.
There we go. Okay.
Good morning, and thank you for the privilege to come here and share with you today. First, I would like to share a little bit of who I am and how I ended up here speaking to you this morning. I was born and raised in Georgetown, which is just this side of Toronto, and I am what you call a cradle Anglican. Leamington has now been my home for just over 30 years. I have 2 grown children, my daughter and 1 grandchild. My daughter works in the agricultural industry, and my son and his wife are both doctors. I am a bookkeeper by profession, and I continue to still work. I also facilitate a contemplative prayer group and sit on the service teams for both our local and provincial chapters. This is a very small part of who I am. This past January, I celebrated my 11th year of ordained ministry as a deacon in the Anglican Church. This is a special ministry of servanthood under direct authority of our bishop. We are to serve all people, particularly the poor, the weak, the sick, and the lonely. My liturgical role is to proclaim the gospel, set the table for Eucharist, clean up, and send out the congregation to go into the community and the world to love and serve the Lord, to be the hands and feet of Christ. There is so much more I could say about that journey. It wasn't easy. Life threw many obstacles on the way to ordination. My ministry is outreach. This ministry is not rewarded monetarily. It is rewarded through the grace of God by humbling yourself and serving all people. At all times, your life and teaching are to show Christ's people that in serving the helpless, they are serving Christ himself. The prophet Micah reminds us that the Lord requires us to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God. So what does that mean for you and for me? I'm going to share with you about the outreach ministry taking place in our community, and I hope that that will help in shedding some light on that question. In 2009, the Anglican Consultative Council developed the 5 marks of mission, which were adopted by the General Convention. The 3rd mark is to respond to human need by loving service. A few years ago, I was asked to speak about that 3rd mark to my clergy colleagues in our diocese. Intimidating or what? What am I going to tell a bunch of priests, deacons, and bishops about what they already know? It wasn't about telling them what to do, but reminding them of what we are called to be. Just because we have holy orders does not make us any less human. As humans, we make mistakes, We say and do the wrong things, but God continues to love us and continues to give us second chances to get it right. This is the revised version of what I shared with my colleagues. We at St. John's Leamington respond to human need by loving service. Where we humbly attempt to follow the words of Mother Teresa. Prayer in action is love. Love in action is service. Our weekly community meal program grew out of a Christmas Day dinner, which began 28 years ago. It was the idea of a parish family who had gone through some difficult times, and they wanted to give back to the community, which had shared their love and support for them. I am blessed to have been a witness to that loving service from the very beginning, and had that example to share and build upon. This made me think of the tiny mustard seed and how it grows and flourishes into a tree. The original idea was the seed. The tree's trunk continues to be the Christmas dinner, but the branches have become so much more. Over the years, there have been a number of initiatives. Some have continued and others have not. For example, the Easter and Thanksgiving dinners. They have been incorporated into the weekly meal, which began in October 2010. Since then, we have added an angel clothing cupboard, an outside angel pantry, and so much more have been implemented, all with their own branches, shooting forth to provide love and support to those we meet. From these branches, further growth has sprouted forth in partnerships with North Leamington Mennonite Church, who hosts and prepares the meal on the fourth Wednesday. We are staffed by volunteers from the parish, the community at large, and other churches. During the last few years, a greater partnership and sharing of resources has taken place between the local churches and businesses, for which we are extremely grateful. That 28-year-old seed has not only impacted those on the receiving end, but more importantly, how it has transformed those who are the givers. What we do for others isn't to fix them, but to meet them where they are in their need, because we are not superior to them. A number of years ago, at one of the Christmas dinners, a man I knew who drove taxi, he had dropped off some of our guests, and he came in and stood in the kitchen door, and he said, "Debbie, I am hungry." My heart and soul still ache when I think of this. It was a transformative moment for me. We were providing a place for people to not be alone at Christmas, to share in the joy of the season, to help extend the resources of those who were stretching every last dollar. People I could relate to in my own life's experience. In all that I was doing or thought I was doing, never prepared me for that most basic request. I am hungry. Someone shared with me that service to others is the rent we pay for our place on earth. My hope is that we can keep up the payments as we continue to nurture those small seeds into trees of love. In some ways, I feel as though I have kind of glossed over what is happening in our community, sort of giving you the feel-good part, but not the numbers of meals, dollars, people. With COVID came the closing of our communities and life as we knew it. Our meal and outreach programs continued as they were considered essential by our diocese and the government. However, our way of doing things changed greatly. No eating in, loss of fellowship, which is extremely important for those struggling. A loss of hygiene facilities for those living rough or couch surfing. We shifted to takeout and continued with our delivery service to those who are shut in, have mobility issues, or lack of transportation. We are currently still functioning this way. Last year, St. John's prepared and served 7,063 meals, an increase of over 4% from 2021, and an increase of 109% since our first full year of 2011. The 2022 meal number included 755 bag lunches that were initially distributed by the Windsor-Essex Health Unit community outreach workers, which we have now redirected them to the homeless hub that is located at South Essex Community Council. The program cost for us for 2022 was $16,800. which was supported by financial donations and investment monies designated for outreach of $11,300, leaving us with a shortfall of $5,500. These numbers would be much more if it were not for the generous donations of our local businesses and community members who supply us with bread, vegetables, and so much more. I am not here asking you for donations, but to share with you the toll it takes to support those who are living in the margins, facing food and housing insecurity, attempting not to judge how they got there. We see new faces and hear new stories every week. Over the last few years, we have come together as a faith community, along with service providers and municipal officials, to work together to find solutions. These, unfortunately, do not happen overnight. I do wish to share with you some of what has come to fruition. Currently, there are 2 community meals each week, one at the Leamington United Church on Mondays, and on Wednesdays at St. John's. The Leamington United Church is supported by Feeding Windsor, Meadowbrook Church, St. Michael's Knights of Columbus, Faith Mennonite Church, and Leamington United's own congregation. There are 5 outdoor food pantries, one at St. John's, one at the corner of Erie Street South and Marlborough East, Parkdale Store, St. Paul's Lutheran Church, and St. Michael's Church. We now have the Bridge, which helps youth ages 14 to 24, where they provide clothing, food, laundry, and shower facilities, and so much more. With 3 food banks, or cupboards, the Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul, and the small one at St. John's. And we have a clothing cupboard at St. John's as well. There are now 2 drop-in centers, both running 7 days a week. The Homeless Hub at South Essex Community Council from 9 to 5 provides access to services, snacks, and rest. Feeding Windsor and Street Angels from 6 to 10 p.m. provides soup and coffee and a place to warm up, which is located at the Leamington Community Hope Center, the former Knox Presbyterian Church. The Finding Home Report, which can be accessed on the South Essex Community Council's website, which was the result of the Leamington Homelessness Project, which both Reverend Rod and I participate. I encourage you to check it out. Unfortunately, we do not have any overnight shelter for people to go to who are living rough. The closest shelters are in Windsor, and many wish not to go there, and there are many reasons for this. So now I return to the question I posed earlier. What does this mean for you and I? Have you formulated an answer for yourself? For me, Archbishop Linda Nichols, the primate of the Anglican Church of Canada, said, "The heartbeat of the diaconate is actually at the edges of the community, where the deacon is the link between the church and the world. Helping the world to see the love of Christ in action and keeping a proverbial foot in the door of the church so it cannot become self-absorbed and must let some of the sights, smells, and sounds and needs of the world in and be able to go out, sent into the world to be Christ to others." Yes, this is what God has called me to. But you as well have been called to love your neighbor, strive for justice and peace, to respect the dignity of every human being. We can do this. It won't be easy. We will fall down and we will fail, but we will stand again and again. Why? Because we are not alone. God lives in us and we live in God. With this, we can transform, revive, and heal society. This line comes from the worship song that you heard just recently, set to the tune of "Abide with Me." It's available on YouTube. It is to provide encouragement and a call to action, a declaration that each of us can join in God's kingdom work right where we are. We are the hands and the feet of Christ. We will use them in different ways at different times in our life. That's okay. God only asks us to do our best. So, as the deacon, I send you forth into the world to go in peace and serve God as we transform, revive, and heal society. Thanks be to God. Amen.